Welcome to the Explainer. So, picture this. You're watching a match, a totally bizarre call happens, and you find yourself thinking, who on earth actually writes these rules? Well, today we are cracking open a literal time capsule to answer that exact question. We're diving deep into the official minutes from the 129th Annual General Meeting of IFAB, that's the International Football Association Board, which went down in Belfast back in 2015. Right away, the big question is, how do the rules of the world's biggest sport actually evolve? Let me tell you, it is definitely not a quick fix. What we're looking at today is this incredible high-stakes balancing act. On one hand, you've got football's deeply rooted, centuries-old traditions. On the other hand, you've got the absolutely unstoppable push of modern technology, fairness, and player welfare. Literally every single rule change is a massive tug-of-war between these two forces.
Here's how we're going to break it all down today. First, the guardians of the game. 2. Shifting substitution rules. 3. Technology on the pitch. 4. Fouls, penalties, and discipline. And finally, number 5, the future of football.
All right, Section 1, the guardians of the game. Introducing IFAB.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the rules, we kind of need to know who actually holds the pen, right? So IFAB is this totally independent body. At this specific 129th meeting, which was chaired by the Irish FA, you've got FIFA sitting right alongside the historic British associations. So that's the Scottish FA, the FA of England, and the FA of Wales. Together, this specific group acts as the ultimate gatekeeper for global football. If you want a rule changed, you have to get past them.
Moving right along to Section 2, Shifting Substitution Rules, Balancing Tradition and Participation.
So a proposal comes across the desk from CONMEBOL, Sri Lanka, and US Soccer. They're asking for a fourth substitute during extra time in tournaments. Makes total sense, right? Well, not to then FIFA President Joseph Splatter. He was highly concerned, arguing that greenlighting this would just open Pandora's box and basically lead to endless demands for more subs during regular play. So for the time being, that fourth sub completely shut down.
But you really have to contrast that elite-level rejection with what happened literally right after. While that fourth extra-time sub got kicked over to the advisory panels, the board unanimously approved something called return substitutions. We're basically talking about rolling subs. But here's the catch. This was approved strictly for the amateur and recreational levels of the sport. Why did one totally fail and the other get a unanimous yes?
Honestly, the magic word here is data. The FA and the Scottish FA brought the receipts. They presented this fantastic 2-year experiment testing rolling subs at the grassroots level, and it was a smash hit. I mean, it increased overall player participation, it stopped amateur teams from just folding mid-season, and it was way better for managing player injuries. If you play in a local Sunday league, this right here is exactly why your team doesn't have to forfeit just because your goalie tweaks an ankle. A real game changer.
Okay, Section 3, Technology on the Pitch, the Data Dilemma.
Rewind your mind back to 2015 for a second. Wearable tech is absolutely exploding, setting up this inevitable collision with the traditional player equipment laws. Let's bust a little jargon real quick. EPTS. That stands for Electronic Performance and Tracking Systems. Basically, devices that track human body data and merge it with match video. The big issue? This newly ubiquitous tech suddenly allowed insanely detailed data to be beamed straight to smartwatches on the sidelines in real time, and the existing rules strictly, explicitly forbade electronic communication between players and the technical staff.
So, IFAB had to come up with a cautious compromise. They basically said, okay, we approve the use of EPTS in principle, but primarily for post-match analysis. They drew a massive line in the sand regarding the live game. Absolutely no real-time data allowed in the technical area. They were terrified of losing control of the live match environment. The only tiny exemption? If the tech provided immediate, proven medical benefits, to prevent serious injuries. Otherwise, keep it off the pitch.
That brings us to Section 4, Fouls, Penalties, and Discipline, Redefining Punishment.
To really grasp this debate, we first have to lock down what DOGSO actually is. It stands for Denying an Obvious Goal-Scoring Opportunity. We're talking about those incredibly high-stakes moments, specifically inside the penalty area, where a defender commits a foul that wipes out a clear, guaranteed goal. At the time, both the German FA and UEFA had been aggressively pushing to change exactly how this one specific foul was punished.
And here is exactly why they wanted it changed so badly. A dog-so foul in the box triggered a brutal 3-layered consequence. First, boom, a penalty kick.
Second, a red card, instantly dropping the team to 10 men. And third, an automatic suspension for the next match. UEFA and the advisory panels looked at this and argued, guys, hitting a player with all three of these for a single, usually non-malicious foul like a slightly clumsy tackle is just entirely too harsh. It became known as the triple punishment.
So, where did they land? Well, UEFA actually pitched swapping out the red card for a yellow card in these specific cases, but IFAB struck that down. They felt the wording was just way too complex for referees to judge consistently on the fly. However, they did agree to a compromise pitched by FIFA. They decided to drop that third punishment altogether, the automatic suspension. Now, this was pending an official tweak to the FIFA disciplinary code, but it was a massive step toward fairness.
Now keep in mind, not every proposal gets this kind of deep philosophical debate. Let's rapid fire through a few of the smaller ones just to see how strictly conservative these guardians really are. US Soccer wanted to stop the match clock publicly in the stadium? Rejected. The FA of Wales asked for a redefined law to clarify accidental versus deliberate handball. Rejected. IFAB basically said that's a referee training issue, not a law flaw. How about a request to globally ban tattoos or personal messages on players? Rejected. Sorry, no banning personal billboards today. They pushed that off to the individual competition organizers. Basically, to change a law of football, you have to climb a truly massive wall.
Which leads us nicely into Section 5, the future of football, the looming digital referee.
Looking back, it is wild to see that the groundwork for the biggest high-tech shift in the sport's history was being laid right here. The Dutch FA actually presented an offline experiment using a video assistant, someone who could instantly relay broadcast footage directly to the match referee through a headset. There's also a mention in the minutes of a pitch from the 2014 FIFA Congress for a coach challenge system. Think tennis or American football, where a play literally stops for a video review. No laws were actually changed at this specific meeting, but these massive ideas were officially forwarded to the advisory panels. They were definitely cracking the door open.
Which brings us to our final lingering thought. Will all this technology ultimately perfect the game, ensuring that every single decision is mathematically flawless? Or will it slowly chip away at that raw, human, flowing spirit that made football the most popular sport on the planet in the first place? As we've seen from these 2015 IFAB minutes, the guardians of the game are locked in a very delicate, never-ending struggle to answer exactly that. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.